Hey everyone, and welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into something super interesting, uh, chromotherapy,
Yeah, chromotherapy.
using color for healing.
Yeah.
You sent over some excerpts from a text all about it, and it's pretty fascinating. We're going to uncover what it is, where it came from, how it supposedly works, and maybe even, what potential benefits it might have.
Yeah, it's a really interesting area and it really makes you think, we all kind of know how color impacts us. I mean, we all have favorite colors, right? But to think that it might actually have healing potential is kind of a wild thought.
Totally. It's like, you know how our bodies crave certain vitamins? What
Mhm.
if it's the same with color? Like we need a dose of sunshine yellow or something.
Yeah, I like that.
The text even mentions ancient cultures using color for healing, which makes you wonder, right?
Yeah.
And then there's even some modern research suggesting that red and blue light could impact things like blood pressure. So
Hmm.
there's got to be something to it, right?
Yeah, it's true. Color has always been a big deal for humans, like way back in history.
Yeah.
And it was often tied to spirituality and well-being. But let's before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's just like define chromotherapy for our listener. Like what are we actually talking about
Yeah.
here?
Okay. Back up a sec. What I ask chromotherapy, like in simple terms, explain it to me.
Okay, so basically it uses colored light to address what practitioners call color deficiencies in the body.
Color deficiencies.
Yeah. And the goal is to restore balance and promote healing by, kind of supplementing the body with these missing colors.
So like if someone's feeling super low energy,
Hmm.
maybe they need a shot of sunshine yellow,
Right.
like you were saying.
Yeah, that's one way to think about it.
Okay.
But diagnosing a color deficiency in chromotherapy, it's not just about how you're feeling.
Oh, okay.
Practitioners, they actually they observe the color of your eyeballs, your nails, even your urine and excrement to see which colors might be lacking.
Wow. Okay. So that's definitely different than going to my regular doctor. They don't usually ask about the color of my,
Yeah.
So where did all this come from? Like, is this a new age thing, or has this been around for a while?
It's been around for a long time. Like a really long
Oh,
time.
really?
Thousands of years. I mean, your source mentions ancient Egypt, China, India, all using chromotherapy.
Huh. They were really in tune with the whole light and color thing.
Yeah, they saw it as really important to healing and just feeling good, like really integral.
So it's not just some fad then.
No, not at all.
But
It's got like a real history, like a rich history. And even like in the late 1800s, early 1900s, you had scientists like Niels Finsen.
okay.
He was exploring the therapeutic potential of light. Like he actually used red light to treat smallpox scars. And his work led to the founding of the Finsen Institute in Copenhagen, like
Wow.
a whole institute dedicated to light therapy.
Okay. So there's some serious history here with using light in healing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And then research continued, right?
Right.
Like it didn't just stop in the 1800s.
Right, yeah. So in the 1930s, you had two psychologists, Gerard and Hesse, and they did studies that like scientifically validated the calming effects of blue light and the stimulating effects of red light. And like that's still relevant today, right?
Yeah.
I mean, think about all the blue light filters on our devices to help us sleep.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Okay, so given its long history and even some scientific backing, is chromotherapy considered mainstream medicine? Like, is my doctor going to prescribe me, a dose of blue light?
That's a really important point to bring up because even though it has this history, chromotherapy is still seen as an alternative therapy.
Oh,
Not, standard medical practice. It's not like going to the doctor and getting a prescription. So that's really important to keep in mind as we go through all of this.
right. Good context. Okay, so let's dive into the rainbow. Like, let's break down the colors. What are these healing properties associated with each one?
Okay, let's do it. Let's start with red.
Okay, red.
So red, symbolically, we think of heat, fire, sometimes even anger, right?
Uh-huh.
And physically, it's thought to stimulate circulation and, bring warmth to the body.
So if you're feeling sluggish, maybe
Mhm.
you need a little red light therapy.
Yeah, practitioners believe it can help with things like low blood pressure, rheumatism, even paralysis in some cases.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so red is a busy bee.
Yeah,
Okay, how about orange?
right, orange. So orange is the color of prosperity, pride.
Okay.
And it's thought to stimulate blood supply and energize the nerves.
True.
It's often used to treat kidney and gallstones, hernias, appendicitis, even stimulating milk production after childbirth.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's a powerful color.
It's like the Caballada, the do-it-all color. Okay, now yellow, sunshine yellow. What about that one?
Okay, so yellow, it's joy, it's happiness, and it's believed to have laxative and diuretic effects.
Okay.
It's a stimulant for the brain, the liver, the spleen, and conditions it's thought to benefit include things like diabetes, indigestion, kidney and liver disorders.
So yellow is like the internal organs color.
Yeah, you could say that.
All right, let's move on to green. Green, what's green's role in healing?
Okay, so green it's a blend of blue and yellow, right? It's harmony, it's balance.
Makes sense.
And it's thought to be a mild sedative. So it's often used to treat nervous conditions, ulcers, influenza, even cancer.
Yeah.
And it's said to help preserve and strengthen eyesight.
Okay, so green is for chilling out and seeing clearly.
Yeah.
Okay, how about blue? Like the color of the sky, the ocean, calmness, all that good stuff.
Yeah, blue. So blue's all about soothing and alleviating pain. It's used to reduce bleeding, heal burns. Think about things like dysentery, colic, asthma, high blood pressure, skin problems.
Wow. Okay, so blue's like got the heavy hitters.
It's a powerful color.
All right, and last but not least, we've got violet and purple. You know, royalty, spirituality, all those good vibes.
Yeah, so violet is spirituality, intuition. And it's believed to be beneficial for nervous and emotional disturbances, arthritis, insomnia.
Okay.
And then purple kind of combines the warmth of red and the coolness of blue. So it's stimulating, but not irritating.
Okay.
And it's often used for constipation, migraines, and skin disorders.
Okay, so we've gone through the whole rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how are these colors actually USED for healing? Like, do I just sit under a colored light bulb all day?
That's a great question, and it leads us to like the practical application of chromotherapy. And there's two main methods.
Okay, tell me. I'm intrigued. How does this actually work?
The first is colored light therapy.
Okay.
So imagine you've got these colored glass panes, kind of like stained glass, and they're in a window or near a light source, and the light shines through the colored glass and it's directed onto the body.
Okay, I can picture that. I can see it.
And the second method involves something called color-charged water.
Color-charged water. Okay, now that's new. Tell me more. How do they make color-charged water?
Okay, so you take these colored bottles, fill them with purified water, and then you leave them out in the sun for a few hours.
Okay.
And this is supposed to allow the water to like absorb the properties of that color.
So you drink like red water if you needed energy, blue water to calm down. Is that how it works?
Yeah, exactly.
That's okay.
And this color-charged water, you can use it internally by drinking it or externally for things like washing wounds or applying compresses.
Okay, so there's a lot to this. This is really interesting. But I have to ask, like, does incorporating chromotherapy into your life mean you have to like eat a rainbow too?
That's a funny question, but it's actually pretty relevant because it ties into the concept of a color-specific diet, which is often a part of chromotherapy treatment.
So like beets and watermelon for red, spinach and pears for green, that kind of thing.
Exactly. So the idea is to incorporate foods that naturally contain those colors that you're using in the light therapy.
So it's about aligning your diet with the colors you're focusing on for healing. Okay,
Right.
got it.
Yeah.
So far, chromotherapy sounds kind of amazing. But there's always a but, right? Like, are there any downsides or things to be cautious about? I mean, it can't all be good, right?
You're right. It can't all be perfect.
Yeah.
And the text does point out some contraindications. Like, it really emphasizes that chromotherapy isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. And it can actually have, some negative effects if it's not applied properly.
Okay, so it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah.
Got it.
There are some potential risks.
Okay, give me an example.
So, for example, red light, we talked about how it's stimulating. But for some conditions, like inflammatory conditions, or for people who are already, like, easily excited, it could actually be harmful.
Oh, yeah.
And then yellow. Yellow might not be a good choice for someone with overactive or irritable nerves.
So it's definitely not something to just, like, jump into without knowing what you're doing. It sounds like you really need to understand the nuances.
Yeah, you really do.
Okay, well, this has been super insightful so far.
Yeah, it's really fascinating stuff.
Well, we can't cover everything in just this one deep dive.
Oh, no, there's so much more.
So for now, what are, like, the key takeaways.
Mm.
What do you want our listener to walk away with from this part of our exploration?
Okay, so first, chromotherapy uses colored light to try to address imbalances in the body.
Okay.
It's got a long, fascinating history, but it's still considered an alternative therapy and not a replacement for, conventional medicine.
Right. And we've learned that different colors are associated with different healing properties and potential risks. So it's really important to understand those nuances before, trying anything out.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, we've just scratched the surface here, but for now, we'll have to leave you with that thought. Join us in part 2 of this deep dive, where we'll delve deeper into the science behind chromotherapy and explore the fascinating world of color psychology.
It's going to be good.
Welcome back to our deep dive on chromotherapy. I feel like we've stepped into a rainbow, but one that's got this like fascinating history and potential healing powers.
Exactly. We've looked at the history, we've talked about the supposed benefits, but now I think it's time to go a little deeper. Like, let's look at the science behind it all.
Yeah, let's get into it. Like, is there actually evidence to support these claims,
Yeah.
or is it all just, placebo effect?
Well, it's tricky. There have been studies looking at how light affects different processes in the body. For example, we know that bright light can help regulate our sleep-wake cycles.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Like, why they say to avoid screens before bed, because the blue light messes with your sleep.
Right, exactly. And there's some evidence that different wavelengths of light, which, correspond to different colors, those can have different effects on our hormones and neurotransmitters.
So red light could actually be stimulating something specific in the brain.
That's the idea. But
Yeah.
it's important to remember that the research specifically on chromotherapy, it's still pretty limited.
Okay.
A lot of the studies are small or they have some limitations, so it's hard to say for sure.
So we can't just say like, red light cures this or blue light fixes that.
Not yet anyway. We need more research to really figure out how it all works and if it really is effective.
Makes sense. But even if we like set aside the hard science for a minute, what about just the psychological effects of color? I mean, we all have colors we love or hate, and they definitely seem to like evoke different emotions.
Right. Absolutely. Color psychology is a whole field that studies how color influences our emotions or behaviors, even how we perceive things.
So there might be a reason why I find blue so calming and yellow so cheerful.
Yeah.
It's not just me, right?
It could be more than just personal preference. Of course, culture plays a role. Like different cultures associate colors with different things. But there's also evidence that our responses to certain colors might be like hardwired into us.
Okay.
Like think about blue, it's the color of water, the sky, things we need to survive, right?
Yeah.
And then red is blood, it's fire. It signals danger or excitement. So those associations might go way back.
That's fascinating. So tell me more about this color psychology.
Yeah.
Like, how does color impact us day to day?
Well, think about how businesses use color. Fast food restaurants, they often use red and yellow. Those colors are supposed to make you hungry, make you feel like you need to eat quickly.
You're right. Now I'm picturing McDonald's, like those golden arches and the bright red ketchup.
Right.
Yeah, I get it.
And then you think about spas and wellness centers, they use cool blues and greens. Those are supposed to make you feel calm and relaxed.
So it's not just about the massages or whatever. It's the whole vibe they're creating with color.
Exactly. It's about setting the mood. And color can influence our mood, our energy, our focus, all sorts of things.
So if I'm feeling stressed, I should surround myself with blue or paint my office green to help me concentrate.
Well, it's worth trying. See how it makes you feel. Pay attention to those things and see if you can use color to create a more positive environment for yourself.
I like that. I'm going to try that. But going back to chromotherapy, if the science is still out, why do you think this practice has stuck around for so long? Like, why is it still popular today?
That's a really interesting question. I think there are a few reasons. First, like we were talking about, color does have a strong psychological effect. So even if it's not like directly healing something physically, that feeling of relaxation or energy that colors give you, that can be beneficial.
So it could be a placebo effect, but with color as the trigger.
Exactly. And then I think people like the idea of using something natural and accessible for healing. It's appealing.
It definitely feels more gentle than taking a pill or having surgery.
Right. And then there's just something fascinating about light and color, right? We've always been drawn to them. Like a sunset or a rainbow. It makes sense that we'd want to harness that for healing.
It's like we instinctively feel that color is more powerful than we realize.
I like that. It's that sense of wonder that keeps us exploring and asking questions.
Speaking of questions, what are some things our listeners might be wondering right now?
Well, they might be wondering how to actually use chromotherapy in their lives. We talked about light therapy and color-charged water, but what about other ways to benefit from color?
Yeah, are there things we can do at home too, like experiment with chromotherapy?
Of course. One simple thing is to just be more aware of the colors you surround yourself with.
Okay.
Notice how they make you feel and try to use more of the colors that make you feel good.
So if I'm feeling tired, maybe I should add some orange or yellow to my living room.
Exactly. You could try wearing clothes and colors that make you feel happy or energized.
I've definitely noticed that wearing certain colors can affect my mood. What about food? We talked about eating the rainbow, but is there more to it than that?
There is. It's not just about having a colorful plate. The different colors in fruits and vegetables, they often have different phytonutrients. Those are plant compounds that are good for us.
Okay.
So like red fruits and vegetables like tomatoes and watermelon, they're high in lycopene. That's an antioxidant that's good for your heart.
So eating the rainbow is about getting a variety of nutrients.
Exactly. And that ties into the whole idea of chromotherapy, using a whole spectrum of colors for our well-being.
Okay, I'm getting it. This is fascinating. But but before we get too carried away with rainbows and healthy eating, are there any downsides to chromotherapy that we should be aware of?
Well, it's generally safe, but it's important to remember it's still an alternative therapy. It's not a replacement for regular medicine.
Right, right. Always talk to your doctor before trying something new, especially if you have any health issues.
Exactly. And as we mentioned before, some colors can be stimulating or relaxing, so you have to be careful not to overdo it. Too much red light could be too much for some people, and too much blue light at night can mess with your sleep.
So moderation is key, as with most things.
Exactly. And it's always a good idea to start slowly and see how your body reacts. Then you can adjust things based on how you feel.
Good advice.
Yeah.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We've talked about the history, the science, the psychology of color, and how it all relates to chromotherapy.
It's been a colorful journey.
It really has.
Hmm.
But there's one more piece of the puzzle we need to talk about.
Right.
What are we missing?
We need to talk about being skeptical, thinking critically. In part 3, we're going to look at the potential downsides of chromotherapy, where we need to be cautious and how to approach all of this with a critical eye.
Because with any alternative therapy, it's important to be realistic and make informed decisions about our health.
Exactly. So join us for the final part of our deep dive, where we'll help you navigate the world of color with curiosity and a healthy dose of skepticism.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've explored the history, the science, the psychology of color, you know, the whole shebang.
Yeah.
But as we wrap up this chromotherapy deep dive, I think it's time to put on our critical thinking hats and examine the potential downsides.
Exactly. We've talked about all the good stuff, the potential benefits, but every coin has two sides, right? So we need to look at the areas where we should be cautious, where maybe things aren't so rosy.
So are there actual risks involved with chromotherapy? Is it really as safe and gentle as it sounds?
Well, chromotherapy is generally considered safe, but it's important to remember that light, especially at high intensities or certain wavelengths, can have real effects on the body. We're not just talking about pretty colors here, there's actual science involved.
That makes sense. So what are some specific areas where we need to be extra cautious?
One thing that concerns me is the lack of standardization in the field. There's no universally recognized certification for practitioners in a lot of places.
So anyone could just hang up a colored light bulb and call themselves a chromotherapist.
Yeah, pretty much. And that makes it hard for people to know who's actually qualified and who's not.
Okay, yeah, that's a little worrying. So how do we know who to trust if we're interested in trying chromotherapy?
That's where skepticism and critical thinking come in. Do your research, ask questions, be wary of anyone making big promises or claiming miracle cures.
Right. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah.
What else should we watch out for?
Be mindful of potential interactions. Chromotherapy might not play well with certain medical conditions or medications.
So it's not like a standalone therapy. It could interfere with other treatments.
Exactly. Some meds can make you more sensitive to light, which could make light therapy risky. And like we said before, red light might not be good for someone with inflammation.
Okay, so talk to your doctor first, especially if you have any health issues or are taking meds.
Definitely. And even with something like colored light, which seems harmless, it's still important to be aware of potential side effects.
Wait, so even just sitting under a colored light bulb could have negative effects?
It's possible, it's not common, but overexposure to certain types of light could cause eye strain, headaches, even skin irritation. Plus, people react differently to colors.
So it's not as simple as just picking your favorite color and basking in it.
Right, there's more to it than that. Another thing to remember is that the research on chromotherapy is still pretty new.
Okay.
There are some promising results, but we need more studies to really know if it works and how.
So it's not like a sure thing, scientifically speaking.
Not yet, anyway. It's important to be a little skeptical and not just believe everything you hear. Look for solid evidence.
Right. Like they say, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. So given all of this, what's the bottom line for our listeners? Should they just avoid chromotherapy altogether?
Not necessarily. It's good to be aware of the downsides, to be cautious, and use common sense. But there's no harm in exploring the possibilities if you're careful.
So it's about finding that balance between being open-minded and being skeptical.
Exactly. If you're curious about chromotherapy, do your research. Find qualified practitioners. Talk to your doctor.
And maybe start small, like incorporating more color into your diet or just noticing how different colors make you feel.
Those are great first steps. Chromotherapy might not be a miracle cure, but it's definitely a fascinating way to think about color and how it might impact our well-being.
Yeah, it's like we've opened up this whole world of colorful possibilities, but with a little reminder to be careful and think critically.
Well said. And as with any journey of discovery, curiosity, critical thinking, a healthy dose of skepticism, those are our best tools.
Well, thank you so much for guiding us through this deep dive into chromotherapy. It's been a really enlightening experience, to say the
This is
least.
my pleasure. It's been a colorful journey.
And to our listeners, keep exploring, keep asking questions, be curious. We hope this deep dive has given you some new insights into the world of color and how it might play a role in your life.